Salute, everyone. Let's talk about this game. As the New York Knicks drop game two at MSG, the series is tied as Detroit steal this one on the road, and it's a series. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of things we did not like in this ball game. We're going to get into it. Shout out to Knicks Nation, shout out to chat and replay squad. The Knicks lose 94-100 in a very ugly grinded out, physical Eastern Conference first round matchup. Credit to Detroit. They did come back after a late collapse in game one with a lot more intensity in this one. They were a lot more organized, I feel like. But the New York Knicks obviously started really slow in this one. We're going to talk about the offense. There was a lot of slow dribbling, holding on to the ball too long, and the Knicks just couldn't get into a flow, into a rhythm all game, right? Karl Anthony Towns did not score a bucket in the second half. That is a major problem. OG only attempted 10 field goal attempts. It was an ugly game, stuck in mud, and the New York Knicks just didn't come out with any fervor after, winning game one, which, they had a situation where they came back, ramped up their defense. But I thought in this one, the Knicks just didn't come out with enough killer mindset, killer mentality, and Detroit hung around once again. Slow, methodical offense. Brunson holding onto the ball a little bit too long, and other guys couldn't get into a rhythm. But Tom Thibodeau as well rocked with the rotation that wasn't working in the third quarter for way too long, right? I'm frustrated. Look, at the end of the day, the New York Knicks have played down to opponents all season, so I'm not overly surprised. This is why I predicted Knicks in six. Would I have absolutely loved to take the first two and put the pressure over on Detroit? Absolutely. But the Knicks just didn't come with that mindset today to put the foot on the throat of Detroit. And a credit to Detroit, they were physical early. No Isaiah Stewart as well in this whole game, right? And they're obviously able to switch a lot easier. I feel like they were playing smaller. And the New York Knicks just couldn't get stops, couldn't get out in transition to fuel their stops. And it's frustrating, right? Obviously, I feel like this is a really poorly coached game. Tom Thibodeau rocked with that lineup for way too long. Chris Goddy's in the house. GK, Tendrell, Elliott, what's good? AP, yours truly, and Low Key's in the house as well. Let's talk about it, guys. I see your passion coming through. Big up. Lonnie Meeks in the house. Why didn't they post up Cat? A lot of things, man. A lot of reading and reacting, and where when the defense tightens up and they're allowed to be more physical. You have to run sets. You have to run more plays, pick and pop. Yeah, Brunson did a great job late of using their force against them and getting those fouls. Right, we were finally getting those whistles because they weren't calling that earlier, but the Knicks just weren't playing with enough energy on both sides early. Even when they had the ball, they were slow. They were too timid. They should have ran the ball up the court and try to get Detroit back on their heels. This is an arm wrestle in terms of who can get the other team back on their heels. And all night, Detroit were getting the New York Knicks on their heels because they were getting rebounds. We were missing a lot of open shots. Deuce, Bridges, Hart couldn't hit a shot from three. Towns 0 from 2 from downtown as well. And that resulted in Detroit winning the rebounding. Once again, inexcusable that a Tom Thibodeau team loses the rebounding for the second consecutive game, fam. Where are these double big lineups to protect the paint? Right, we needed to see more of that tonight. Tom Thibodeau, the Knicks lose 44-53 on the glass. Such a funky game, man. The Knicks had, 15 assists to Detroit's 11. The Knicks got more steals. Both teams turned it over about 15 times. Knicks shot 42% from the field. Detroit slightly better. The Knicks 28% from three. Detroit couldn't even buy a three as well. It took a Dennis Schroeder three, a step through where Hart and Brunson messed up the coverage on that one, man. That wasn't the time to play drop coverage, fam. And Schroeder made the New York Knicks pay on that one. But yeah, man, both teams made a lot of mistakes, and both teams probably deserve to lose the game. It's just the Knicks probably made the final mistake, the nail in that coffin, which was Hart and Brunson messing up that coverage. Also, Brunson missed one of those free throws, the 3 free throws. He missed the final one, which would have made it less than a possession, basically half a possession game. But then that made it a full possession. And then the Schroeder 3 made it difficult, right? But yeah, give us your thoughts on this one, guys. I'm not thinking that the Knicks are going to lose this series still, but I'm frustrated, right? I think the Knicks will still win it in 6. It might go 7 because we messed up. Now, the New York Knicks have given up home court, right? We did it 2 years ago, much to our frustration, and we're going to have to do it the hard way again. And I've definitely got a lot on my mind to talk about with Tibbs in this one. How can the Knicks lose the rebounding again, which is insane? Also, we bring up the wire to wire. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this, right? This is a playoff game at home at Madison Square Garden, and the New York Knicks barely led at all in this ball game, right? They led in the first quarter, and they almost took the lead, right, late in the ball game, but could not get the lead. But look at that, man. That's one-way traffic. Every Knicks player should be embarrassed tonight because, yeah, Detroit came physical. They played hard, but the New York Knicks just couldn't get ahead in this game at all. It was very nonchalant, lackadaisical. That hunger, the fight for 4 quarters just wasn't there defensively, and a lot of cross mismatching as well. Even OG, OG had a poor game tonight. K definitely got the best of OG, right? And he needs to bounce back in this one. Last graphic I'm going to bring up just a second with this one is Karl Anthony Towns' shot chart. Man, this tells the story, man. You're paying a guy $60 million in a playoff game, and these are the shots that Karl Anthony Towns gets at home on your home floor, fam. A picture paints 1,000 words, but no pick and pops, limited pick and roll. What are we running, guys? What are we running offensively? It was an absolute disgrace tonight on the point guards and the coaching in this one. And Tibbs rocked with those lineups in the third for way too long. Once again, going down in a 15-point hole for close to the second consecutive game on our home floor as well. If we do lose this series, Tom Thibodeau, I'll pack his bags. I'll be the first one. Because, yeah, it's an absolute disgrace the way we were coached tonight. It was pathetic. It was amateur right there. We were lost, playing slow as a snail. And Karl Anthony Towns, right? If Leon made that trade, fair enough. That's the front office vision. But what's the coach doing about it right now? We've seen this all season, man. He's averaged his lowest 3-pointers for his career all season right now. And he gets up 2 threes in a massive playoff game right now. So I'm heated. The ball wasn't moving enough. Clyde, Breen, they were calling it out, man, all night long. In this one, 15 assists. I can't believe that. I can't believe I'm saying that. 15 assists in a whole game, man. And yeah, we're going to talk about the officiating. I'm not blaming the officiating on the loss in this one. They kind of even the whistle late. If anything, both teams can be frustrated because they were just completely clueless. The officials were just absolutely clueless tonight. They just didn't know what they were calling, man. And Tibbs had to use a challenge early. But Brunson was getting smacked all season, and we were playing into their hands. Move the ball, Brunson, because, yeah, you're not going to get those calls. So trying to fight and finish over traffic just wasn't the play. Wasn't the play tonight. But we missed a lot of open threes, man. Bridges, 3 of 11 from downtown. Brunson, 4 of 12. I mean, the game was that close. If he goes 5 of 11 or Brunson goes 5 of 12, we win the game. But this is playoff ball. You got to man up, pull your shorts up, give credit to Detroit. They played a good game. Cade played well. He was the best player on the court tonight. And we were by far the worst coached team in this one. Chris says Cade did his thing, but Dennis and the refs, especially in the first half, killed us. GK says trash, period. Elliot, salute. Tendrell, no pain, no gain. AP says if Tibbs and Towns is back on this team, you're not going to rock. Well, that's your choice, ma'am. That's your choice, fam. You got to be orange and blue through ups and downs, right? I know people are frustrated with coaches, players, but the thing is, if things don't work out, there will be wholesale changes. But this is one playoff loss, man. I'm not jumping out the window. AP, man, you're just saying some ridiculous stuff right now. I'd rather suffer with the Brooklyn Nets, man. I got to put you in a timeout with that one, fam. I'm sorry to do this, but I know you've rocked with us for a bit. But see you later, fam. Right. If someone says they want to rock with the Brooklyn Nets after one playoff loss, man, see you later. Get out of here. Low Key says Bridges and Cat did not show up tonight. Yeah, absolutely. It was 3-pointers that were open and they didn't go down, but they weren't playing with enough aggression. But I really put this at the foot of the point guards, the coaches and the point guards with this one. Lonnie says, why didn't they post up Cat? Coaching, man. Coaching, poor decision making, and low IQ. Low IQ. But look, the series is a game of adjustments. They adjusted. Now it's time we're going to have to readjust, and that's what I say. This team has lacked that hunger and killer mindset all season, I bet we're feeling good about ourselves. Yeah, we took game one. We made a run. We're like, yeah, we're going to coast into game two. But Brunson was pathetic in this one. Karl Anthony Towns as well didn't get the ball enough. And the energy-wise, defensively, the tentativeness of Hart and Bridges and OG, right? You got to be willing to play with no conscience, in the playoffs. You just have to, and that's why Cam Payne played so well in the first game, sorry, because he has no conscience right now. Players were hesitant, and they were passing up a lot of shots. You look at the young Pistons team; they didn't really look tentative. Cade knows where he can get his shots, and he was attacking that. And then you look at guys like Schroeder. He took the shots that we gave him. We didn't get much. They didn't get much from Beasley, and that is a situation where the Knicks still, were in this game, which is absolutely crazy. Vaughn says, yeah, I think JB fell into some old habits. Yeah, definitely he did. He was assuming they were going to start calling the whistle earlier, and they just didn't, but the pull-up threes weren't working. Yeah, I got to say that Brunson is definitely not 100% himself. He's definitely dealing with, the ankle situation, and he was playing into their hands. He should know if he's not himself, get these other guys going, We didn't really get OG going enough, and Bridges got more shots tonight, but 8 of 18, really inefficient from Bridges tonight, 3 of 11, right? A couple more games like this in the playoffs, and if we lose, we go out. I don't know if Bridges is going to stick around because it's going to be tough to pony up a big amount of money on a player that's just not producing, in the big stage. Cameron Payne, 4 minutes tonight, didn't get a single shot up. McBride, 3 of 7, 2 of 4 from downtown. Yeah, McBride hit some timely shots, but defensively, minimal impact. He was -5, Cat -10. and most of the starters in the minus in this one, guys. Just frustrated that the Knicks threw this one away. Elliot says no double big lineup either. Emmanuel says I really think we were down because of the huge free throw discrepancy in the first. I was, I think, 18-0 until the last minute of the first half. Yep, it's hard to make up 18 free shots. That was the killer in the first half, definitely. It was very lopsided, and the Knicks didn't come out, though, in the third quarter to really stamp their authority. That's the most frustrating thing. Sandman says Brunson was pathetic. He was himself. He have enough talent. Brunson must play as a point guard. Yeah, 15 assists, Sandman. That's on the point guard, but the coaching as well, because I do think there was some really poor, lineup decisions made by Tibbs in this one. Ji says, I don't know. CT Detroit was choking it up again. We should have taken advantage. We should have won this game, but first half killed us. I just don't think we've had that killer mindset all season. Players second guessing themselves. I thought Tibbs overplayed Hart in that first half. It allowed them to play off of him a lot more and less floor spacing. I mean, you don't even need to be a real basketball savant to see both offenses. Why does Detroit's offense look so seamless? We're scrambling and one guy seems to always be one pass away from an open shot. But we're never one pass away from an open shot. We're literally trying to, dust off a guy off of us and free up some talented all-stars. It's because too many guys out there aren't spacing the floor out. Hart just doesn't need to play that much, man. 40 minutes. I love Josh Hart, but we weren't getting enough floor spacing out there, right? When you're not getting floor spacing and you can't drill a three, that's what happens. Detroit can literally be up in everybody's shorts. Jay Supreme says, I agree. Bridges bricking way too much. Left too much food on his plate, says Vaughn. Yeah, you guys hitting. Freeway says, where the F was Cam? We need that energy. I think Cam made some questionable decisions and Tibbs didn't trust, the bench enough in that third, man. It became clutch time and Tibbs I think he just got too nervous, man. Tibbs is going to Tibbs, he won't trust the bench in a pinch. Lonnie says OG got to be more aggressive. Yep. And the scheme needs to set him up a lot more. Yeah, I would like us to get downhill, but guys, if we're not getting stops, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough getting downhill if you don't get any stops. And our offense is a slow grind as well. Did you guys notice by the time Brunson got over half court, obviously it's 16 seconds left because he has to use the full 8 seconds to shake off the defender. It's something that I've been angry about with our system basically all Tibbs tenure, Last year it was, Kelly Oubre picking him up. Then it was TJ McConnell. Tibbs did nothing about it, for crying out loud. Get a guy up there to set a big pick so that Brunson can get freed up, Every single possession, Brunson has to walk the ball up with a full court press. Finally the folly, the aggression of Thompson got him fouled out. But with Brunson and Tibbs, we're too slow offensively, man. Buzzer says, CT, I think some people are too sick of Tibbs and his poor scheme rotations. I don't think that anyone wants to see... I don't think anyone wants to... I'm not sure what you're saying on that one, man, but money time, yeah. With Tibbs, yeah, I think if you polled the fan base, I think way more are Tibbs out than Tibbs right now. Vaughn said Reed had a bigger impact on the game than Mitch and Deuce. Yeah, he did. And that's crazy to think about. That's frustrating, man. Emmanuel says, I'm proud of our boys. We tried to take the game out of the ref's hands. and had a chance to win. I do agree. We should have found Cat in the post more, but Jalen Duren was a good defender. JB had 37. It's more about what Brunson's doing to set everyone else up. We can't beat Detroit with just one guy, fam. I feel like we can go as far as everybody else, and there's so much talent on this roster that Leon's assembled, and we're basically Brunson and a couple of guys versus them, and it shouldn't be the case. We need better spacing. We need to play at a faster speed, and we need to be more aggressive defensively. No blitzing, no trapping of Cade. It was literally just trying to cross match every single possession. It was working sometimes, and then we were getting killed sometimes. I don't know how sustainable it is, fam. I think we're just going to have to live with switching. Try to Cade, take over and take the other guys out of the rhythm. But the cross matching killed us. Jace is too much standing around, poor coaching as well. The 7-man, no shooting and no movement late. Salute Tony, good to see you in here. A lot of passion coming through the building. Stefan says, oh boy, are we in trouble? We could be. I'm not sounding the alarm right now. 1-1. We could easily go to Detroit and win a game. We could win both. I feel like this is the kick up the ass that this team needs, because once again, I keep saying it, I don't feel like they have the killer mentality yet. They go up one game in a series and they should smell blood. They should sense that, okay, we have the chance to win this series by going 2-0 up, because barely any time if you go 2-0 up is the other team going to come back. Now, you give away a game on your home court to a pathetically coached performance and just a stale offensive performance, man. We waited too long to show any urgency, That's what I mean about our killer mindset. It's just not there. First quarter, I would have come out with maximum energy and just pushed Detroit back on their spot. Second quarter wasn't there. Third quarter was probably the worst quarter of the series. And you get down 15. I just don't understand how that can happen, man. Yeah, Tibbs gonna Tibbs. JI says it. We had a 7-foot all-star that didn't even touch the ball in the second half. Yep. Because we're letting Detroit dictate the matchups, fam. Because of no Isaiah Stewart and Josh Hart's out there, they're able to put Tobias Harris on Cat, and guard him up on the perimeter. If you take Josh Hart out and you put a double big lineup, then you have to make them, match up with you. And they don't have Isaiah Stewart, which means they'll have to use Paul Reed and Jalen Duren. You take Hart out of the game, but Tibbs is going to play Hart, man, 40 minutes. Tibbs played Hart more than Karl Anthony Towns tonight, which is a disgrace. He played Hart more than Bridges. He played Hart more than Mitch. It's just asinine, man. His concept understanding of spacing just isn't there, man. And we're just we're an anemic offensive team when, a good defenses can clamp down, and I've got to equally give Detroit's defense credit, because to make us look anemic, you have to be a good defense, obviously. Cade's got size, Thompson, Beasley, when you can be super aggressive, you can get away with a lot, which is all the more reason why we need to play at a faster speed. This, hop the ball up the court, 8 seconds, 16 seconds on the clock. By the time we try to navigate a few picks and side-to-side dribble handoff action, there's like 5 seconds left on the clock. It's just not winning basketball right now. Tibbs definitely got out-coached in this one. The Tibbs won the battle in game one. I'll give Tibbs that. I gave Tibbs the A. In this one, man, he'll get an F, because JB and Detroit Pistons executed better than the New York Knicks. Lionel says, Knicks ain't winning nothing with Brunson holding the ball for so long. Yeah, definitely, especially when he ain't the best version of Brunson, you know. Came back from the ankle late in the season. He just doesn't look spry, you know. The three-point shot is just not falling for him. 4 of 12 from downtown tonight, man. Only 7 assists and a -2, right? And this is a great statistic, courtesy Tom Haberstroff, talking about the foul rate calling of the playoffs is way down if you look at it. So they're not calling any fouls. So we're not adjusting. We're not adjusting to this one. We had success in game 1 with the dual point guard lineups. Campaign was that spark plug that was able to shake loose, you know, because he gets downhill really quick. He can shoot off the bounce. Some of the things that the other guys are struggling with right now. We need more of that. Otherwise, we're just going to fall into a stupor, I think. Yeah, we gave away home court right now. So basically, it's a best of 5 series, but the series starts right now on Detroit Pistons home court. So yeah, when the team that has home court advantage gives up the first loss, you know, they lose home court. But if we win a game in Detroit, we get home court back. Obviously, if there's a game 7, it's basically just a clever way of saying game 7, if needed, is on Madison Square Garden. But if the series goes 6, Detroit will have more home games. If the series ends in 6, Detroit will have more home games, you know? So if Detroit win their next 2 at home, the Knicks will be, you know, up against it, right? So we're going to have to roll our sleeves up and be road warriors right now. And we need more from OG, Bridges, but I think this lies at the foot of the coach in this one. I thought he should have made an adjustment. You know, I think Deuce probably should have played more than Hart. Cameron Payne should have played more, and Mitch should have played more as well. Too much Hart in this one for me. Vaughn says, I picked the Knicks in 5. I believe the series closes in New York. I hope you're right, man. I could see that happening, but obviously the Knicks are going to have to win the next 2. They'll have to win the next 2, and then it's back to MSG, to close it out. To close it out in 5. But yeah, they're going to have to win both. Which look, sitting here right now, I'll be surprised. I think anything's possible. They could take this as a massive wake-up call. Yeah, they could take this as a massive wake-up call and answer the call. But look, I feel like the Pistons are well worth the value of stealing a game. You know, they could have stole both. Let's be honest, fam. Over the 8 quarters, can anybody say that we're resoundingly shown that we're the best team? If anything, it's probably a four quarter split. You know, I think probably, you know, the Knicks win 2 quarters in the first game. The Knicks probably won, you know, 1 quarter tonight. So yeah, maybe Detroit probably won 5 out of the 8 quarters in this one. The way they've been able to handle their business on the road is obviously a credit to them. But yeah, the Knicks were very poor tonight in this one. Buzzer, yeah, I feared that the Detroit would win the first one because normally the first game is the easiest to steal. And that is the situation. That happens in any series, you know. You have a chance because teams are trying to feel each other out. But in this case, the Knicks got away with one, you know, in game 1. And they didn't have Isaiah Stewart tonight, right? They shot a wretched 22% from downtown, or whatever it was. What did they shoot? Yeah, 22% Detroit from downtown. And we still lost the game. We shot 28%, right? Which is absolutely insane. And I can't believe, this is Karl Anthony Towns' shot chart. You know, we just completely went away from him. And that's the Tom Thibodeau read and react system, fam. the offense. But for some reason, diehard Tibbs fans will tell you that he's the right coach for this situation. I mean, the roster's been underutilized all season, and how long are we just going to ride this roller coaster till we say that this just ain't it? It's just been up and down all season. My biggest fear coming into the playoffs was our inconsistency, because if there's one thing you need to close the series out is to be consistent. Otherwise, you're just going to win a game, and then you'll come out, you'll let the other team back into it. Then you'll have to fight back and win another game, and then the other team might get the next one, and it's Groundhog Day, fam, all over again. So we've got the final playoff game of the night kick-started. We've got the Nuggets versus the Clippers right now. Let me do a quick score check on that one. And that is basically close to a tie game, 37-36. Denver up by a point halfway through the second. We had some announcements. Jalen Brunson did qualify as one of the 3 finalists for Clutch Player of the Year. But man, tonight just didn't have it. Tonight we didn't have it, man. And now we go back to Detroit, where the Knicks haven't won this season. And we're going to have to find out what this team is made of. Elliot says, I agree about the lineup choices. Yeah. Neymar says, I still got the Knicks in 5 or 6. I like the confidence. I like that confidence still. Buzzer says Towns should have taken Tobias down low, but he can't. If he gets good position, I think he showed that he can get the jump hook off, but he can't really quite seal some of these guys off because of their, Tobias is still 6'8", but he's got the weight, I think, to bang down low. Lonnie says every time down the floor they hunt out Jalen. When do we do that to their defensive liabilities? Yeah, exactly. Look, tonight was a little bit tougher than usual because Detroit were allowed to be extra physical. But yeah, the Knicks just fell in love with we're taking the easy way out. We don't make the other team work hard enough on defense, fam. There's only one stat you needed to tell me before this game, and I would have told you that we would lose, and that's 15 assists. You can't have 15 assists in a game and expect to win. It's just pathetic. It's absolutely disgraceful. And just double check. How many assists did Detroit get? Detroit had 11 assists, which is, I can't believe that either. I can't believe we had 4 more assists than Detroit. But then if you look at the rebounding and you see that they won the rebounding by 9, then that tells you, the story. I felt like we weren't fast enough. PH in the house, Jazzman says, why no campaign? I think Tibbs just tightened the rotation in the second half, Shamet as well didn't do enough, wasn't impactful enough. Jazzman says if they lose game 3, people will start bugging. I think people are going to be bugging right now. Man, we've already had some people in the chat talk about supporting the Brooklyn Nets, which I still can't get my head around. I mean, people are entitled to do what they want to do, but you can't call yourself a fan, in my opinion, or a diehard fan if you're talking about supporting another team. I mean, if you've supported the Knicks for this long, if you've waited 50 years or whatever it is, 40 years or 30 years, yeah, I get it. There's been a lot of pain, a lot of ups and downs. But if you've been a fan for this long, how could you even talk about supporting another team? That's just the epitome of just being a casual. You may as well just go support Steph Curry, LeBron, Greek freak, and do as your heart pleases, But yeah, one day we will see the New York Knicks win the trophy and win this championship. And there's a long way to play out, We assembled a different roster this season. Maybe we find out that it's just not going to work out, and we go back to try to find it, that identity that we had before. But but there's certainly a lot of building blocks. OG Anunoby, even if the season was to end in this series, which I don't think it will, but OG season would be a success. He's shown massive improvement. Mikal Bridges, on the other hand, hasn't quite been worth the juice hasn't been worth the squeeze. It hasn't all been bad. I've liked some moments from Mikal Bridges. He's a good guy. I just don't know why he just hasn't really, we haven't gotten the best out of him this season, and maybe we're putting him not putting him in the right spots as well. We keep using him as the point of attack defender, and that's hurt us a bit. But at the end of the day, right, if we're going to talk about paying Mikal 25 to 30 plus mil right now, the juice just ain't worth the squeeze. And maybe the front office, because they gave up 5 first-round picks, they might have to feel like they're forced into giving him a bag. But we'll see how it plays out. He might rise to the occasion, help us win a big road game, and swing this series, hopefully, back in our favor. I'm a glass half full kind of guy, but it's hard not to be overly concerned. It just really is, because we've seen what this team is. They giveth, then they taketh. They just haven't done anything otherwise to show me that they're going to take the bull by the horns, and bully an inferior team in a series, man. It's just been up and down. We only had 1 9-game win streak this season, one big streak this season, and the rest of the season was just a roller coaster of ups and downs. And look, we got to call a spade a spade. Detroit are missing Jaden Ivey. He's one of their best players, right? So the East is getting better, and the East will continue to get better next season, right? We can't fall behind right now. This season could be a great chance to maybe get Boston in the second round with Jaylen Brown, hobbled. And maybe the Knicks get a chance to make a finals or to face Cleveland in the third round. But if we don't seize this opportunity, next season, Detroit are going to be better. I've got no doubt in my mind that Detroit will be better. If Jaden Ivey played tonight, the Knicks would have had their hands full even more. He might have even outplayed Bridges or someone else. So we've got to deal with this right now. And look how ruthless the business is. Landry Fields, general manager of the Atlanta Hawks, earlier today was let go. Fam, I'm not overly surprised. He had a pretty good run. He did some solid work. But then ultimately, it just wasn't moving forward for Atlanta. They won the Dyson Daniels trade, getting first-round picks and Dyson Daniels, and offloading DeJounte Murray. But he stunk the joint up with the DeAndre Hunter trade, giving him to a rival, making the Cleveland Cavaliers a rival, a championship contender, and taking back Karis LeVert and the corpse of George Niang. And then he's got the Trae Young situation, that they're stuck in quicksand. So he lost his job in this one. Is the Heat going to turn to Leon? Is the Heat going to turn to Thibodeau right now? It's a ruthless business. And yeah, as you guys said, Isaiah Stewart was out in this one as well. This is what I found fascinating. Referee tonight, Ray Acosta, officiated. The Knicks have a home record of 600 above in the last 3 years at home. But with Ray Acosta, it's 300. And that's gone down even more now as the Knicks lose game 2 with Ray Acosta, fam. The officiating was disgraceful, and the NBA is a circus show at times with these clowns, man. I'm not afraid to call out these clowns right now because they just don't know what they're doing. First half officiating was bad. The Knicks didn't attempt a single free throw until the final minute of the half, right? A team with the talent of the New York Knicks, with an MVP candidate and two-time All-NBA players, two-time All-Stars, did not get to the free throw line until the final minute of a playoff game on their home floor, until the final minute of the half, right? And then you look at these numbers, you know, you look at these numbers, and I'm not just the one talking about this. Look at Steph Bondy bringing this up as well. Let me pull it up. More stats, right? Steph Bondy puts out this. The Knicks are 6-11 before tonight in games officiated by Ray Acosta over the last 3 years. The Pistons are 6-2 with Ray Acosta over the last 3 years, fam. So the Knicks are now 6-12 with this Acosta clown officiating us. You know, so hey, men lie, women lie, people lie, numbers don't lie. Is there something fishy about this? You guys let me know, right? I was saving it until the game. When I saw these stats and these numbers, I'm like, all right, let's just see how the game goes. And then I see the first half. It's hard not to think about. It's hard not to think about this. It just really is, right? The Knicks being a above 600 team on their home floor, but with this particular official, they're a 300 record, and then we're 6-12 with games officiated by this clown. Yeah, it's crazy. Buzzer says GMs are hired to be fired. Yeah, everyone's on borrowed time, essentially. You're as good as your last performance. Rye says Acosta, this guy. Yeah, he's making a bank on DraftKings. I won't be surprised. With beef stew out, any pressure on Duran, early trouble would have tilted this. Yep. But Paul Reed played pretty well off the bench, says Det. Yeah. Yeah, their role players stepped up, but they didn't shoot well from three, and they only had 11 assists, and we just still didn't find a way to win. That's how poorly maximized this roster is, right? We could have been playing with Brunson, Hart, OG, and a couple of G leaguers, and the result wouldn't have been much different, because Karl Anthony Towns just wasn't impactful. We're just not getting anything out of him. We're not setting him up to get anything out of him, 10 shot attempts is crazy right now. So it's hard to know what to make when we have all this talent, but OG's getting 10 shots for a whole game in 40 minutes, and Cat is only getting 11 shots up in 34 minutes. It's plain and simply on the point guard and the coach. Brunson put up 27 shots tonight, more than double OG, almost triple the attempts OG got, and close to triple the attempts Karl Anthony Towns got up as well, right? That's just way too much. I'm happy Bridges got 18 shots up. He was open a lot. He was trying to be aggressive. He just wasn't efficient in this one. Yeah, Peter says definitely this one's on Tibbs. Yeah, it's up to the coach to put his players in positions to succeed. 100%. You're correct. You got to make adjustments. And on that note, yeah, Detroit made some great adjustments. Tibbs just loves Hart so much that he's just willing to sacrifice some floor spacing. Because, yeah, Hart gives you a lot on other things, He gives you hustle plays. He wins you 50-50s. Like, I get it. It's not that it's completely no rhyme or reason. But at the end of the day, we have to work so hard to get an efficient bucket because our floor spacing is compromised. And on the other side, Cade can get downhill with, the big up top, setting a big pick. OG has to fight over that pick. We have to hedge, then cross match again. And it's just everyone out of position. And the more Detroit keep doing that, they're eventually going to find success because you can't keep you can't keep scrambling to try to, rotate perfectly every single time. Right now, we're not forcing Detroit to make any rotations, right? Literally, how many rotations defensively do you see them have to make where we're just passing the ball one side to the other side and they're having to rotate, right? Um, we're just trying to go down with our best player ISO ball, right now. We weren't getting the free throws early that killed us. Bridges, no free throws tonight. Cat, not a single free throw, which is another disgrace. I mean, the numbers are just crazy, to see Cat not shoot a single free throw on a playoff game on his home court. I can't wrap my head around that. I can't wrap my head around OG only having 2 free throws for a whole game. Bridges not getting to the line once either. Not even Mitchell Robinson, your 7-footer that played 20 minutes. It's just kind of insane right now, man. And yeah, like I said, Tibbs will be out of here if we do lose this series, man. Olo says you have to say coach only makes plays for Brunson. That's why we lost. His play is reading and reacting, but yeah, the Brunson's calling his number. He needs to call someone for the pick and pop. He needs to drive and dish a lot more as well. Nemo says, I meant to ask, do you think Dolan steps in to fire Tibbs and Leon? Maybe not Leon, but I could see a Tibbs thing happen, definitely. And it might not even be Dolan. There's Gerson Rosas, who's the assistant GM. There's Worldwide West, who reportedly lobbied to fire Tibbs back, when the Knicks struggled 2 years ago. And then when they went on that run, he saved his job. But yeah, West was really ready to pull the trigger with Dolan, I think, to get Tibbs out. Yeah, Tibbs will definitely be gone, I think, if we don't win this series. Queen's Place, his ball is not moving 1-on-1. That's Tibbs's fault. Yeah, Tibbs specifically tonight was lineups as well. We needed a spark. When something's not working, it's like, okay, what are you going to do to change it? Are you just going to continue to let this thing stagnate? There's a reason we had success with Campaign, right? It's not rocket science. It's Campaign is able to get downhill, and pull up off the dribble. Bridges hasn't been able to do that much all season. Hart can't do that. He's not a pull-up threat. Cat is not a dribble pull-up threat. He can't create. So we're down to Deuce. We're down to Brunson. We're down to OG, Bridges, Campaign, and Landry. But, only a handful of those guys have even been consistent. We should have seen more Cam tonight. We should have seen more Deuce in place of Hart. And look, Shamet might have just lost his rotation spot. Right, I could see Tibbs now double down and play 7 men in game 3, fam. But the Knicks are going to have to come out, play super physical in game 3. But watch them flip the officiating and be super ticky-tack in game 3. I could see the Knicks trying to adjust and be more physical, but then because we're in Detroit now, we'd probably go back to them being ticky-tack. Look, the NBA definitely hates the Knicks. Adam Silver, the Board of Governors do have issues with James Dolan. But mostly because of ratings. They want this series to go. They want this series to go 7, definitely 6. Look at all these neutrals online. They're like, oh man, Detroit, I love to see them. They're the Cinderella story. They're gritty. Every neutral wants to see Detroit win or this series go further. Like Cade, have his moments and all of that. But Brunson's the villain now. Everyone thinks Brunson's foul baiting. And because the Knicks are the superior team, we have the target on our back. And everyone wants to see the Knicks fail now and Detroit win this series. So I'm not surprised about the crappy officiating in this one. I won't be surprised if we see the same thing, in Detroit, man. We had fate in our own control. We have 2 games at Madison Square Garden that no one can take away from us, and we failed to capitalize. Fam, you win this series. I said it all along in every preview. You win this series by winning the first 2 games, and you shut the door. You don't give this team any chance and any hope. And we leave the door open now. Now we're in a dogfight, just like Top Gun. We're in an old-fashioned dogfight, in the trenches. And we're going to have to come out and get gritty now, roll our sleeves up in this one. So Tibbs has decided his rotations before the series began. DeLon Wright, was scrapped for campaign. It's tough to play more than 9 people in a playoff game. I like Tibbs' rotations in the first game. Tonight, I hated them because he didn't, adjust later in the game. Third quarter, the Knicks just didn't make their run, man, defensively. Yeah, Emmanuel says, how many back passes did we make? Intercepted, out of bounds, out of control, fast breaks. I think we have to match the bully ball, slow it down. More Mitchell, more Cat in the post. Schroeder was the killer. Yeah, if not a couple of those coverages, we would have maybe got out with a dub in this one. But yeah, that Schroeder step in 3, we dared him to shoot it, and he hit it. But to their credit, they should have ended the game earlier. We gave them the Malik Beasley wide open corner 3, man. I was literally closing my eyes on that one, thinking that, right, this game's done. We did get lucky. Brunson did get a few fouls. We were fortunate to still be in the game. They let us stay around as well, and we just did not capitalize in this one. So frustrating as we see, but as I predicted, man, Knicks in 6. Right, I was very reluctant to say 5 because I know there's a lot of shenanigans, chicanery. There's dealing with injuries, officiating, people wanting to see this series go longer. Now we just have to do it the hard way, man. Now I really think there's a real possibility this is a 7-game series. So let's see. I hope it's over in 6. Yeah, I don't see the Knicks winning both in Detroit, right? Hopefully we can adjust and take game 3, because then that would give us an excellent chance of trying to get game 4 as well. But we just haven't seen the best of Detroit yet, So what if they come out and they execute perfectly in game 3? It's going to be tough, Our offense hasn't looked good in game 1, and it didn't look good tonight. Something is going to have to change in this one. People in the building tonight, man, it was good energy as always, but the Knicks the Knicks team, the officiating, let them down in this one. So yeah, sickening that the Knicks could only score 94 points. Anemic offense at times. We've got to do a better job at getting stops, getting downhill. They were rattled, I guess that's the Knicks' best chance of beating Detroit, is to be in the close games, execute better than them, and hope that they just get rattled late. But the only issue now is that both games of the next 2 are going to be in Detroit, and they haven't won a playoff game. They hadn't won a playoff game since 2008, heading into tonight, and they broke that curse now. So Detroit win their first playoff game since 2008, and probably their first playoff road game since the 2004 championship, right? Now they get playoff basketball in Detroit, and the crowd, the energy, the fans are going to get a taste of Detroit basketball at the Little Caesars Arena. Hopefully a lot of Knicks fans have snapped up a lot of tickets. I know probably been challenging, but I definitely feel like a lot of Knicks fans have probably snapped up a lot of tickets. So hopefully there's a strong Knicks presence in the building. And hopefully the Knicks can be road warriors, fam, and just execute. Because out of these first two games, one thing we haven't seen is the Knicks really dominate a stretch where, okay, for a prolonged stretch, yes, we had that avalanche in the fourth quarter to win game one. But what I mean is we haven't really seen the Knicks control 2-3 quarters and look like the much better team and dominate. If we can do that in a game, and then we'll really see Detroit, maybe their inexperience start to wilt. But if we keep letting them hang around, then this series is going to go a lot longer. Emmanuel says they want this series extended because of ratings. That is why the first half went the way that it did. Yeah, 100%, man. The officiating, the record against this Ray Acosta guy, it's crazy. Brunson was black and blue in the face. Yeah. Buzzer says the Knicks have to understand who their enemies are. Yeah, it's Knicks against the world right now. I said it. We had Target on our backs all season, right? People can't wait to call us overrated, frauds, all of that, because we kind of we let that linger, by being a third seed, being good, so that you're good still, but not good enough, where you lose every single game against Cleveland, LA, Detroit, Boston. Oklahoma, Boston. So yeah, we're a very inconsistent team, and something just isn't gelling right now. Too fragile defensively. My key adjustment was to start Mitchell Robinson in every game. I don't think Tibbs played the double big lineups enough in this one. Olo says Brunson with 54 shots in 2 games is ridiculous. Yep. Especially when a lot of them are forced, Definitely a lot of them are forced. And the funny thing is, obviously with high usage, he's been able to get Osara Thompson fouled out or foul trouble both games, right? It's just that the sacrifice that we make is that everyone else gets frozen out. Everybody else gets frozen out because we're focusing on JB too much. Jazzman says, I say Tibbs got to go, but who we bring in, that's the question. Look, there'll be heaps of coaches with great pedigrees put their name up to take a Knicks job that was the third seed with this kind of talent with Brunson. I think there would be a lot of people interested. I would like us to go with a lower profile. I don't want someone to come in thinking they're better than this situation and put their stubbornness out there again. I don't want Mark Jackson. I don't want Mike Malone. I don't want a guy like Tibbs. I don't want Tibbs, right? I want a young, clever coach that's forward thinking, good sets offensively, good motivational coach, but not too old school. Just someone who's going to come in here with no ego, put the players first and put them in better positions to succeed. Man, that's who I want right here. I could care less in terms of the name. I don't want a big name profile coach. Every time we try to go for this shiny name, let's go get Phil Jackson. Let's go get Leon. Let's go get Tibbs. Let's go get Mike Malone. It didn't work out with Larry Brown. It didn't work out with the other coaches, Hornacek, Fizdale. Well, how many times are we going to make the same mistake? Man, out here. Yep, like I said earlier, Salvatore, appreciate you, says Detroit outplayed us 7 of the 8 quarters so far. Maybe they're just a better team, but I hate to say it. I'm not going to say they're the better team because, yeah, it's certainly a case of the Knicks haven't adjusted, I think, well enough to the overplaying defense and the physicality now. Detroit's played like the smarter team. And 7 out of the 8 quarters, a lot of them is because they're playing to their strengths. We're not playing to our strengths. You know, fam, I feel like they know their identity. You know, they know Cade, they know pick and roll, they know their shooters are out there. Their shooters can get hot. We're just not doing none of that. We're not executing anything, you know, and the numbers are glaring. You know, they tell you, you know. Um, if you're JB Bickerstaff and you're looking at the Knicks box score, you're like, yeah, I've done my job. Like, I've completely outcoached these guys. You know, I made them make an adjustment and they didn't make any adjustment. You know, Paul Reed outplayed some of our guys, and no Isaiah Stewart tonight. Thompson picking Brunson up full court, eating up the shot clock. We're playing exactly into their hands, man. Exactly into their hands. We got away with it against the Philly series because, Embiid was, not Embiid. Embiid was on one leg at the end of the day, but we did really run into some trouble in the Philly series as well, forcing the Brunson isolation. When they're putting Kelly Oubre and that onto him, or Sarah Thompson, we got to get that ball moving, man. Got to get Brunson moving or off the curl, get him off ball, set some picks to free him up. No creativity. Rice says, I miss Kenny Atkinson. He would have been a great candidate, no surprise to me he's having success in Cleveland, He's fully maximizing their roster right now. Right now, we're playing like a dinosaur Stone Age team because we have a dinosaur as our coach, a 68-year-old guy that's got no adjustments. PH says, CT, we're lucky to not be down. We have not looked good in the first two games besides the 21-0 run, yet we've been outcoached and outplayed. Yeah. And the concerning thing is that we're going to have to really rise on the road because if we've looked ordinary on our home floor, I don't know what else is to come, but I'm trying to stay optimistic. But yeah, to look poor in 7 of the 8 quarters on your home floor, I could understand if some people are ringing the alarm bells. I could understand. I'm not panicking yet because we are up against an inexperienced Detroit team. But I tell you what, if they come out and play an excellent game in Game 3 and go up, and the Knicks are down in this series, there might not be no looking back. There might not be any looking back, fam. So we'll see, man. We'll see how things play out. But like I said, I think this team has always needed that kick up the arse to get to wake up. They lack that killer mindset. It happened all season. We'd win a game, we'd feel good about ourselves, and then we'd come out slow in the next one. Then we'd bounce back and we'd win the next one, only to then come out, looking poor in the next one as well. So, look, this is a very even matchup. I feel like our strengths could be bad for their weaknesses, but we're not executing, and their strengths are bad for our weaknesses right now. So, I guess it's going to be who wilts first and who can execute. We have Game 7 on our home floor. That is obviously in our favor. But if that happens, we have to win a game on the road. Otherwise, we won't get to a Game 7 now. We've given up home court. We must win a game on the road now, right? Otherwise, we're going to be staving off elimination in Game 5 just to force a Game 6. So, got to come out with urgency, man. One of the next 2, you have to win it. Otherwise, you're in a deep hole. You're in a deep hole if you don't win one of the next 2. So, I see you on Jay Wright. I was thinking about Jay Wright maybe a year back, but I don't know now. I don't know if Jay wants to get into NBA coaching right now. He seems to be happy retired right now, and that's what I mean about the luring back a big name who might not be as hungry just for a big bag. I want to avoid that. We did it with Phil Jackson. We done it with Larry Brown. We done it with D'Antoni. We done it with Thibodeau. Right now, I want us to be innovative. Get a young, hungry coach that's done some serve their dues, and a younger minded coach, a players coach, a coach that'll keep these guys motivated but keep them grounded as well, but not with old school ways of just barking at them like a dog. There's got to be other ways you can motivate guys, and improve these guys right now. But look, man, the heat will be all up in the front office as well. The Cat trade, the Bridges trade. If the Knicks lose in the first round, there could be a cleaning of house, right? I'm not the one speculating this. Steve Popper of Newsday had alluded on the Ian Begley Putback show that he's hearing rumors that there could be more of a cleaning of house, upstairs. Now, it might not be Leon. It could be mainly Gerson Rosas. It could be Wesley Brock Aller. Who knows? But all that he said was that there's going to be pressure, and he's hearing that if we lose in the first round, it might not just be Thibodeau. Because the Knicks are a first apron team, man. They've got a pretty steep payroll. If they can't beat a young, hungry Pistons team, that's only going to get better. Then they may as well, blow some things up and make some major trades right now. Obviously, Kevin Durant will be the biggest name available in the offseason too. I could see the Knicks try to go for him if they lose in the first round. But right now, I would start with the coach, keep the front office for now, change up the coach, see what happens. Jazzman says, I'm an optimist, but the Celtics would crush us. That's a fact. Yeah, I feel like if the Knicks made it a 6-game series, I think you could take away as a building situation, and you could say, all right, we're maybe one piece away. But if the Knicks got stomped by the Celtics, that would be a tough situation. You built this roster to be at least competitive. At least be competitive against them. Right now we've definitely looked way inferior. So yeah, this was some success the Knicks were having early tonight. Cat down low, right? Look at the spacing was obviously a lot better, but you had Landry Shamet right there in the corner. Beasley's not even looking at him. Cat's not even looking to pass that one either. Bring this up on the big screen. Look, you basically got 5 guys about to collapse on Cat, and you've got Landry there ready for the catch, but Beasley's not even looking at him. Where are the other guys? Where's the guy in the left corner? Why isn't someone rotating over into the other corner? Right, it's crazy. The Knicks offensive system is just a mess right now, and the numbers tell it. Cat's averaged the lowest 3-pointers of his entire career. Right, not for last year or 2 or 3 years, his entire career, and we traded for him to be a stretch big. Right now, how do you go all in on a stretch lineup only to not be a stretch lineup? Man, only the Knicks could do that. Right, it's dumbfounding right now. Tibbs' love of Josh Hart needs to be studied as well, because it's hurting us at times, and we're just not getting the spacing that Detroit's getting. They don't exactly have world beaters. They've got Tobias Harris, who's very inconsistent. Tim Hardaway was pathetic tonight, and they still won. They shot 22% from 3 and still won a ball game, holding the Knicks to 94 points at MSG. They have to be absolutely thrilled, Detroit, with how tonight went, man. They would have to be absolutely licking their lips at how they played and how they got away with a win and how they almost got away with 2 wins right now. So yeah, it's crazy right now. Salvatore says, yeah, it's not unusual for Bridges to not get to the line as he plays soft. Yep, he's in their contract year. Offensively, he doesn't like getting to the cup. He likes to fade away. Now, he's confident in that shot. Yeah, we need guys to be more aggressive getting to the cup. Yeah, jazz man. Yeah, someone great X's and O's. Pull someone out of the film room like Spoelstra. That combined with someone with great, management skills as well. Maybe a younger, a great respected coach. I'm not just gonna say Johnny Bryant for the hell of it, but yeah, a player like that, a coach like that who is young, has served some dues, but is respected by some stars in the league as well. You know, I feel like that should be next if the Knicks give someone a chance. You know, and I know a lot of people's argument for Tibbs is like, all right, what? You're gonna just throw Tibbs away for what, someone less experienced? Well, my rebuttal would be, okay, you keep bringing in somebody experienced, but that hasn't worked. So eventually, shouldn't you try something different? Mike D'Antoni was someone experienced, stubborn in his ways. Um, Phil Jackson was stubborn in his ways. Tibbs is stubborn in his ways. What are we going to keep bringing in these old heads with an ego just because they've got experience? At some point, it's like banging your head against the wall. If it ain't working, try something else. How is some of these other franchises having great success? Oklahoma, um, other coaches. Emi Udoka is young. Um, around the league, you've obviously got Boston, Joe Mazzulla. He wasn't a big sexy name when he got the gig. Uh, was anybody calling about Mark Daigneault before he got the gig? Who else? There's a lot of guys out there. We'll see, man. We'll see. But yeah, Dolan, Knicks front office, they always do like to go for the big name. The big splash. Buzzer says he's chose Tobias Harris over me. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, man. We were allowing them to cross-match Tobias onto Cat because Tibbs wasn't playing the big lineups tonight on this one. J.I. says, I can't see Detroit winning by the way they have been playing the last two fourth quarters. We just didn't take advantage tonight. Yeah, I think it's a best of 5 series now. Tonight was a huge swing game, man. Because if you win tonight, then Pistons have to win 4 out of 5. And I definitely think the Knicks should still be maybe slight favorites. But if Detroit win game 3, then game 4 becomes must win. So we're 1 game away from being a must win situation. But then if the Knicks win game 3, then game 4 becomes a must win for Detroit as well. So here we are, fam. Every game is going to become more critical. Every game is going to be a must win for the next team. But game 3 is going to set the tone, I feel like, for the rest of the series, If Detroit lose game 3, game 4 is a must win for them. So the stakes are getting higher and higher now. We're at the poker table, and we're starting to go all in right now, man. The stakes are getting high. It's a best of 5 series now, but the Knicks have played 2 on their home floor, and I think it's been a failure in my opinion because we needed to win. We needed to win 2. The way we've played, we haven't looked great. Now maybe we need to get on the road and be in that hostile environment to really buckle down and wake up. Maybe we need that. I hope we did it. This team is mentally where we haven't been able to thrive when when the sun is shining. We seem to always fall back into adversity. You know, getting onto a run when we're having success just seems to be difficult. When we get momentum in a game, we throw the ball away and we let a team back in. We keep turning it over. So yeah, this series could come down to who's most mentally tough. Who's the more mentally tough team? who's the smartest team, who can adjust the best right now. So right now, I feel like the onus is back in Detroit's favor now. They have home court. We have to wrestle it. So we're really starting to slow this series down. It's probably good for Brunson's sake because he's banged up. So Brunson's going to get 2 days rest right now. They're going to have time to think about this series. Who's going to win the battle of the adjustments in the next game and force another adjustment? So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I feel you guys tonight. Appreciate you. And I know, yeah, a lot of people were heated in the building. But let's see what happens in game 3. I think the series is hanging on a knife's edge. It's that close right now. I still pick the Knicks in 6, but I could easily see this one going 7, fam. If the Knicks don't win one of the next 2, then they're going to have to win 3 in a row. You know, which is really in a really, really tough situation, right? I repeat, if the Knicks don't pull off a win in Detroit in the next 2, right, they'll have to stave off elimination in game 5 and then they'll have to win game 7 at MSG. So winning one of the next 2 in Detroit is absolutely critical. But Detroit's a young team. How will they handle? You know, being up as well? Because it's a different feeling to be down and you're hungry and you got to fight back and scratch and claw. But how does a team handle now being up in a series if Detroit win, you know, the next 2? If Detroit win the next 2, they'll be up 3-1, man. And our heads will be getting ready to roll. So peace up to everyone. Stay blessed. Big up to the chat and the comments. Replay squad salute. Disappointing night at MSG. Signing off as we split 1-1. I predicted the Knicks in 6 because I felt like Detroit would get one of these road games, man. And they did, right? How can the Knicks bounce back? And what adjustments will Tibbs make? We'll see. But yeah, I got a feeling that this thing is definitely going 6 and more likely 7 now as we go further along. I could definitely see the Knicks winning one in Detroit. I think it's more likely the Knicks get one in Detroit than Detroit win both, right? Because that would mean that Detroit win 3 games in a row. And winning 3 games in a row in this series is very difficult to see happening, right? So I predict the Knicks will get a split in Detroit and then it'll come back to game 5 back at MSG. And we'll see how that plays out, fam. But peace to everyone. And we'll see you on Thursday for the post game. And I might be on live on Wednesday as the dust settles after this one tonight. Peace.